Hey Hodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be doing some foundation speed reviews, making some decisions about what's coming, what's going, what's staying. But if you are new to my channel is all about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, being critical of new makeup releases, and just being very considerate when I do decide to keep something in my makeup collection. So I've been testing a lot of foundations over the past few months, and I have made some final decisions on some. Some are still in their testing phase, but since we were talking about my foundations today, I needed to include them in this because I haven't really decided. So if this kind of content sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, and I'm also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. There is no pressure to you though. It's just I'm happy that you're here watching my channel. I really appreciate that. But thank you to all of my current patrons. You are the best. If you are new to my channel, I like to try to keep it down to 4 foundations. And right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 foundations sitting in front of me. 2 of them I'm still testing, and some of them have got to go. Some of them have their own review videos because I reviewed them at one point, and then some of them are getting reviewed in this video. I will try to be as thorough as I can with the ones that I haven't done a detailed review on, but I sat on them for too long and I pushed off doing my videos on them for too long, and so that we're just kind of doing a wrap up for 3 of these foundations that I did not do a full review on. One of the ones that I'm currently testing will get its own full review, and then the other foundation, anyway, we're just gonna get into it, okay? So the Surat Dewdrop foundation is my favorite foundation. I love it so much. It is that girl. I did a very thorough, detailed video. I will link them in, I'll link it in the cards, but I think I'm gonna have so many videos that I'm probably gonna have to mostly link them in the description. So if you're interested in further details. I like the coverage of this. It's a nice light coverage. I like light to medium. I think it's just the best foundation I've ever used that does blurring. It just is like a filter for your face. It's just incredible. It works well with your hands. It works well with a sponge. It works well with a brush. However you want to apply it to your face, I think it works beautifully with that. I found that it's not really fussy about the primer that you put underneath. It's just a foundation that I'm very, very fond of and that I consistently reach for over and over again. So obviously, she remains part of my core 4. If any of you saw Scream 6, core 4. Another gimme. So the Makeup by Mario foundation, I continued to use after my video because I was just maybe I don't understand this. Maybe I will get some value. No. This is just not a foundation that's for me. There's so much shimmer particles in it. It doesn't always read like that on your face, but it's just, if it only has one vehicle, and it is that you will look wet. And I'm not really opposed to that. I like glass skin, but I can't control it with this. And I just didn't find that this was to me it felt like, it didn't feel like something that a makeup artist would have made. Whenever I think of makeup artists' makeup lines, I think of them being really smart and adaptable, and I just don't think this is adaptable. It's not starting at 0. It's starting dewy, right? It's not giving you any play. You can't make choices beyond that. And the mica, there's enough mica in here that whenever I applied it with my fingers, you could see it there was a remnant on my hand of just sparkle, and I was like, I don't know about this. And I'm not opposed to mica being in my foundation. I like glowy foundations. Again, I like the glass skin look. I've only tried a handful of things from Makeup by Mario, so my experience with the brand is minimal. But anyone I know that has tried other things from this brand, beyond the things that I have tried, they really like them. And I have an eyeshadow palette from him, and I really like it. But this is a complete mess. I did try it with an oil-based, God bless. I tried it with an oil-based primer, and it took it from dewy to just I don't know, sweat. I had been playing volleyball in the hot summer sand in the Olympics. It's 100 degrees and I'm parched, but however my face is so wet that if you took a picture with flash on, you would just see me from the neck down with a flash reflecting. It's not for me. But I will also, I did a full video on this, so it's a pretty long video. This isn't for me. I'm ready for it to go into my declutter box. Someone else can have it. I have a feeling it's gonna really work for somebody. Let's talk about one that's still in the testing phase, right, where I haven't really made my final decisions about it. I have this Rose Inc Skin Enhanced Luminous Tinted Serum, and I've been testing this out. So far, I really like it. I think it is the thing that feels the most like skin when I put it on, which means when I put it on, I don't feel compelled to put on bronzer or anything. I don't feel like I need to bring my face back to life. That's how sheer this is, and it gives you a wet look. So I do normally, whenever I wear this without any other makeup, I do powder in the center of my face, and that's kind of where I leave it. And it looks really great. It's the like I said, I love a light coverage thing. This reminds me more of the Glossier Skin Tint than like any other lighter coverage things I've tried. But the other thing is, like, with the Glossier Skin Tint, I always felt like I got medium coverage out of that. Because I don't know, I always felt like I looked like I had a full face of makeup on with the Glossier. And I like the Glossier Skin Tint, by the way. I'm not besmirching it. I like it a lot. I just haven't used it in some time. I have been enjoying this. It's like kind of like these two are like battling it out for a spot right now. This is the Merit Perfecting Complexion Stick. I haven't decided if it is better than this. But the other thing about this is I've been using this for some time, and I feel like I can just like finish it up. I still have the old one, the one that has like less product in it. And I think I'm about halfway through it. So it might, like, it feels like one of those things where it might just be like worth it for me to just try to like finish this off and then move on to the rose ink. But the other thing is, I don't know what the price point of this, but it felt very expensive for what it is. Like, if you think the Glossier Skin Tint is expensive for what it is, this is like double that. This is like a very expensive product. It's lovely on the skin. I feel like it makes my skin look really healthy and youthful and glorious. But yeah, I'm still testing this out. I just don't know if it's like my everything. I don't know if it's like the thing that I'm gonna like land on for being. I have a couple foundations that I consider like my easy breezy throw on with my fingers. Like when I don't really care about my complexion. I'm not spending a lot of time fussing with it. I don't know if it's gonna take the spot of like one of the foundations that I have. So since we just kind of talked about it, I'm going to hold on to the Merit Perfecting Complexion Stick. Again, like I said, I'm already halfway through it, and I think if I made a concerted effort to just like try to use it up, it wouldn't take me incredibly long, like, because I'm more than halfway through it, and I don't use it just as a concealer. Like, I use it as like a foundation all over my face, and so I don't think it would take me that long to use. Like, if I just diligently in the next couple of videos, like over the next couple of months, just like it would be gone. But I really like this, actually. The secret to it, if you have it and it hasn't worked for you, I would recommend using like an oil-based primer. This needs a lot of slip, in my opinion. Even if you don't really like a dewy foundation, I don't think this is like in its nature dewy, but it needs something to glide on top of to blend out seamlessly. And that doesn't bother me. I have a couple oil-based primers that I like to switch between. This works beautifully over top of them. And I have gone back on videos. Sometimes I watch my old videos, okay? Sue me. Sometimes I like to watch my old content to see how far I've come, but also to look at my makeup that I've done in them. I clicked on a video and I was like, my skin looks so good. It was this. That's always a good sign when I look back on something. I'm like, what is the foundation that I'm wearing in this video? And it's like, you still have it. You're like, ah, good, excellent. I'm gonna pan it and then probably not repurchase again. I really like it, but you know, sometimes you just need to move on to like other things, right? Bigger, better things. The Chanel Sublimage Le Temps. This is another one that I'm still testing. This is a very expensive foundation. I'm gonna dedicate a whole video to this. And the reason that this one is gonna get its own video, even though that this is like not a brand new release, this is a $135 foundation. And I think giving as detailed of a review as I possibly can on this is going to be as helpful as someone on the internet possibly could be to someone watching YouTube content. And I just think that like me being very thorough with it and like probably producing like an hour-long video about it is going to be the best way to communicate all the things about it, pros and cons, to better provide information, not only to my current subscribers, but also to people in the future. So that might be interested in it because it's so pricey. She's a pricey gal. I like it. So far, like I really like it. It's still in its testing phase. Like it's not been invited in, but I mean, just to be frank with you, it does feel as like inevitable that it becomes part of my foundation family. That's how good that's going. But it's really good. I really like it, but more to come on that down the line, and I will get it out sooner rather than later so that what's happening right now doesn't happen again. Let's get into some of the ones that I haven't reviewed on my channel before. Let's start with the Lancome Tinted Ultra Wear Care and Glow. So this is not the original. Well, also the original just got reformulated to have no fragrance in it. And that is my number one complaint about this. I have some other complaints about it. My absolute number one complaint about this is that this is so fragranced. It hits you in the face. In fact, I have footage. I'm just gonna cut to it. Oh, that is fragranced. The original one does not smell like this. It doesn't smell like SPF. It smells like perfume. On the palette, it doesn't smell. No, it doesn't. Okay, what's on my hand then? It smells like that. It smells so floral. I have no idea what I would have used. Let's just get started with this. Now I'm very concerned about myself. No, it is this. It does smell. Okay, I'm not crazy. It like hit me in the face. It like hit me in the face. It was like, I'm here. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know that I invited you to this party. The other thing is, I have another foundation that has fragrance in it. I have two here that have fragrance that I have yet to talk about. Neither the other two that I'm gonna talk about does the fragrance stick around, but I could smell this at least 4 hours into my wear. I could still smell this. And that is unacceptable. I'm not sensitive to fragrance. I don't prefer it to be in my products, but it's not something that I'm going to like poo-poo a product and say, I will never wear you because it has fragrance in it. It is simply that it was so long lasting. The other thing is when I put it on, I felt like it looked good. This came out around the time that the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Foundation came out, and I reviewed that on my channel and I did not like it. This actually looks more like what I was expecting that foundation to look like. It has like a soft glowing effect to it, but it's just a foundation. And I mean, you could say that about any of the things I'm talking about, but I just don't feel like I get anything beyond that from it. It doesn't really blur. It's like mostly kind of coverage. You get a little bit of a glow, but it's not like a wet glow. Like I definitely could see this being for someone. In fact, I think my subscriber Logan really likes this. So like there are people who like it, and I'm not saying that it's not the worst foundation I've tried. In fact, I'm fairly certain that Hourglass one is the most disappointing one that I have tried. Like this is not as disappointing as that. It's really the scent. And then after my wear test, it just didn't look like, of course, after 8 to 9 hours in a foundation, it's gonna like look worse for wear. But I just feel like this looked more worse for wearer. So maybe it's just something that doesn't agree with my skin type. Like maybe my oily skin is not something that this like agreed with as super well. I cannot stand the way this smells. And that's also part of it. It's like, it's just so perfumey. And it's just like, it doesn't, and I used the other formula of this, the original, but that one always smelled like SPF to me. And does this one even have SPF? It has SPF. It doesn't smell like SPF. It smells like fragrance. I don't know. Our time has ended. And like the Makeup by Mario foundation, it is departing. A win for me. I think Kaki's her eyes are gonna roll into the back of her head and she's gonna be like, I can't believe. Next up is the Haus Labs foundation. I was sus about this. I was really sus about this because I feel like every reviewer, it always swung. Like I feel like I never watched more than one review in a row where the person liked it. So it was either that a person really loved it or really hated it. I really like it. I don't know that it's not top tier. It's not a top tier foundation for me, but I really like it. The first time I used it, and I have footage of this, and if you were a patron of mine, you saw me like interacting with this, like the first time I interacted with it. And I was like, okay, the shade range is wild. It is very hard to discern what your shade is. And I don't know that this is a dead ringer for me, but it's definitely closer than one of the foundations we're going to talk about in here. I didn't like it the first time I used it. And then I was like trying to get my head around it, and I was using it off camera. And sometimes I was using it on camera too. And then what happened was it came like when I couldn't decide on where to go on a foundation, I would default to this. Why I ended up default, and I had to like think about it really hard about like why I was always coming back to the Haus Labs foundation when I like didn't want to wear my Surratt, and I didn't want to go through the fuss of wearing an oil-based primer for the Merit, and I didn't want to like test a new one. And I was like maybe going out or like whatever. And I would come to this one. The thing is, it adapts. And that's what's beautiful about it. It reminds me of, it's like not formula-wise, but it reminds me of how I would have used the original Makeup Forever HD foundation, where it's like, it just is in the middle, right? It's not gonna blur. It has a very nice coverage. It has a very nice consistency. It applies beautifully. I liked applying it with my hands or my brush. Like all of those work. I think my favorite way was actually with my hands, if I remember correctly. I normally use a brush. I normally default to brush because I just don't always want stuff all over my hands. I don't mind using my fingers. But I always like to mention that because, you know, there are people who just will exclusively apply foundation with their fingers. And so I just want to make sure that I test it that way to be able to report back whether or not it was like an enjoyable experience. So it doesn't have like that SPF. It doesn't feel like it lingers. I feel like when I was applying it with my fingers, it kind of just melted into my skin, and I didn't feel like I had like a bunch of product to wipe off on my fingers whenever that was done. And so yeah, it worked beautifully with oil-based primers. It worked beautifully with all of my other primers, like the Victoria Beckham, the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. Stunning with any of the primers that I have chosen to use it with. But what it does is I feel like this is a really great foundation for my powders to do their work in the world. I always just felt like when I was done, whenever I had applied my blurring powders, my finishing powders, my setting powders, and then I sprayed my face with Fix Plus, I thought my skin looked really good. But it doesn't start that way. Whereas like for example, the Surratt Dewdrop foundation, it doesn't need the help of my blurring powders. It just makes my skin look like that already. And then I apply my blurring powders. Like, you know, I do all that extra stuff on top of it to like really just kind of like not to be perceived, as you will. I should have done that one on merch. There's always time. There's always time. I'm actually gonna keep this one. It earned her rank in the core 4 because I really like using it. The only reason I haven't been using it too much is because I've been getting my head around some other things. But yeah, I like it and I'm gonna keep it around. She's gonna kick around. Next up is the Gucci Eternité de Beauté foundation. So this is their newest foundation release. First and foremost, the packaging is impeccable. There's like this mint green top, glass, frosted, feels nice. So experientially, it's pretty good. This does have a fragrance to it. It has like the Gucci, smells like Gucci stuff. If you ever smelled a Gucci product, it smells like that. Gucci coochie, okay? I typically lean more towards like a glossy skin look. That's what I like, that's what I prefer. Again, watching old content where I still had matte foundation, and I was like, wow, sometimes matte foundation really has its time and its place. Oh, wouldn't it be great to find a foundation that could provide that when I wanted it? So like, you know, if I needed my skin to look really perfect for an evening, and like matte skin just like registers a little bit better in photography or whatever. You know, you don't get to control your angle sometimes in photography and videography. Like it's, you know, sometimes it just looks nicer and like it helps you blur your pores. Like there's a lot of benefits to matte skin. It's not always my gig, but there's a lot of benefits to it. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if this would be that? And no, it's not the worst foundation that I've ever tried. I'm not trying to say that. To me, much like the Care and Glow from Lancome, it's just a foundation. Again, you could say that about any of the products. Didn't really blur. Color is atrocious. This is the 120N, Fair 120N, which is supposed to be like fair neutral. So on khaki it turned green. On me it was very yellow. So it kind of would match my neck, which is more yellow than my face. My face is very rosy. But it wasn't really neutral. It was like leaning too much into a space that my skin just isn't. I don't want to say that it's olive, but maybe it is. I'm not as like into like the color theory bit of it as khaki is. So I didn't find that my skin looked green, but of course you might be looking at the footage that I'm showing you and being like, what? That does look green. So maybe it is. I never really paid that much attention to it. The formula was just fine. Everything about it was just fine. And for the price point of this, which I believe is like $70, I'm gonna need more than fine. I'm gonna need more than fine. For example, the Surratt Dewdrop foundation is $75. And for me personally, this meets me at my $75. It meets me at $75. This does not meet me at $70. The Chanel Sublimage Le Temps, which I'm enjoying, it's kind of meeting me at $135. Like I'm perhaps seeing why someone might be willing to pay that. I wouldn't be willing to pay $70 for this again. It felt more like a drugstore foundation to me. And this is like a problem I have with matte foundations in general. As someone with oily skin, I have found that the more I try to prevent the oils from coming through, that is when I get the most cakey. And that is when my skin looks the most unnatural, which is why I just lean in to glossy skin, because my skin's gonna look like that anyway. But whenever you try to fight it, what happens is, and this happened with this foundation as well, is at the end of the day, I would get like this, it was always right here, and I don't have like the most textured forehead, but like there is texture there, you can see it. And what would happen is like the powder from like inside the foundation would get like stuck in some of the texture there, and then it would be like break up around that and just make it my texture just like much more visible. Like if I'm trying to prevent that, I don't want it to be at the 8-hour mark, whereas like the glossy skin that I typically like doesn't really like perfect that much at the start of the day, but by the end of the day it like looks the same, right? It looks the same to me, right? It looks the same, but this did not look the same all the way throughout the day. Yeah, Gucci products are no, not mostly misses. I really like the eyeshadow palette I have from them, but I think that's the only Gucci thing that I have tried and I've really loved. I do want to try the bronzer. I'm considering buying it during this for the sale, but I just don't want another bronzer right now. That's all. And whenever I feel so compelled to try a new bronzer, and that might be the one I try, but I'm not running out to buy it, and I don't really recommend this. I have seen that other people have loved this, but it might just be my propensity to not really like matte products that is getting me there. But it's I didn't hate it. It just was like, it's not worth $70 for me. It's not this be all end all moment. It's not a moment. She's not the moment. And that leaves me with the Rituel de Fille 3-drop Luminous Elixir foundation. This is a lab sample. I really like this. And I've had ups and I have had downs with it. And if you watched my video where I initially reviewed this, I had like a lot of feedback about it. It smells like frankincense, and you can smell that, and it's like It dissipates pretty quickly though. So unlike the Tinted Doll from Lancome, this did not like linger. It's like as you're putting it on, but once it's blended in, you really can't smell it anymore. But I also know that some people are sensitive to fragrance, so that just might not be a thing that you can participate in. Period. I really like it. So this is remaining in my core 4. I feel like I just talked about this not that long ago. And also it's like not a thing you can buy. And whenever they do decide to release it, there's going to be differences. So if you're not familiar, like the lab sample releases, you buy it with like the caveat that you're going to fill out a survey and like give them feedback, and you can give them a bunch of feedback. There's probably a lot of feedback that they like sorted through and fixed about this. I still really like it. And it kind of like the Merit and like the Rose Ink. It's a little, okay, so it's the most fussy out of these 3, but like my skin always looks really, really good when I use it. That's enough for me. I don't know how they do it. This formula is thin, oil-based. It works best with an oil-based primer. It works on other primers too, but like they actually watched my video and sent me their Thorn oil to try with it, and it does work better with the oil-based primers, but it works on top of anything. It's just, I think, it's always at the forefront of my mind, right? It's not living at the front of my mind palace, where right now, when I think of my foundations and like what I'm reaching for, it's Surratt's always like, do I want to wear that today? And then it's kind of like, ooh, is it a good time to pull out the Chanel? Or is it like gonna be an easy breezy day? Should I test the Rose Ink? So it's not always like the first thing I'm thinking of, because it's just not the thing that I'm most excited about. While I'm perfectly happy using things that you can't buy anymore, this is also just like a product that is in its evolution stage. Like it hasn't quite made it to its Charizard, which was the what is the biggest Charizard is the small one. Charmander. Charmeleon is the middle one? That's today's video. It's just like not in its final form. So even when it will come out, it like probably won't be the same. Like I don't know what they're gonna change about it, but we'll find out together. So I also kind of intend on holding on to this until foundation does come out, so I can kind of compare and contrast for you if that's something that, because I'm interested in to see what they did, because I did a very thorough review of this. So I'm interested to see, obviously not my feedback is not the most prominent, like I just happened to make a video, but a lot of other people gave feedback too, so I'm interested to see what things that may have changed that maybe I have provided feedback on or that other people had issues with. So I'm very curious to see what it is, but I really like the foundation, so it remains part of the core 4. Let's reflect. Makeup by Mario, Lancome, and Gucci. I'm passing on, no longer with me. Still haven't decided whether or not they're gonna stay or they're gonna go. Rose Ink. And then my core 4, Surratt, the Merit, the Rituel de Fille, and now introducing the Haus Labs. I only had a core 3 up until now. I hadn't had a 4th one. So I was trying to I was on the hunt for the perfect 4th one, and I got carried away, and now I was testing 5 new foundations all at once. So sorry that my voice was kind of crapping out. I have not been very well. I'm on the mend. I feel good, but it's just like my voice isn't keeping up. You know, it's like, it's not keeping up with me and my energy. But if you are new to my channel and you found today's video helpful, or you liked the vibe, I would love to have you stick around. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. That really helps me in the algorithm. And I'm also on patreon.com if you'd like to support me there. Merch is really close, right? So I've mocked up some merch. I have some samples on the way. There'll be no pressure to buy merch, but I just need to see it first before it goes live. So I'm just waiting on my lab, like my testing samples, to make sure that there's not anything I want to change before I open it up to you. Patrons will get first access to that. Merch update, all those things. Anyway, I appreciate you all so much. Remember to follow your haute, and you will find me. Bye-bye. Friend.